Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com, and we're back with this week's new comic book reviews. It's a big week, folks. It's a really big week. There's a lot of new series, a lot of returning series, and there's a lot going on this week. So we'll try to get through these as much as possible, or as quickly as possible. First up, we have DC's Festival of Heroes, the Asian Superhero Celebration #1. There's a lot of people in this, so we're going to go down the list. We have the first story written by Mariko Tamaki with artwork by Marcus To. Then we have Min Lee writing and Trung Lee Nguyen artist. Then we have Greg Pak and Sumit Kumar as the artist. Anzi Adam Ansari writer. Sami Basari as the artist. We have Ram V writing. Audrey Muck as the artist. We have Dustin Nguyen writing and artist. We have Alyssa Wong writing with Sean Chen penciling, with Norm Rapmund inking. Then we have Sarah Kuhn writing with Victoria Ying as the artist. Then we have Amy Chu writing and Marcio Takara as the artist. We have Pornsak Pinshot writing with Alexander Trudinsky as the artist. And then finally, Jean Luen Yang writing with Bernard Chang as the artist. This book comes out of the sad recent events of a lot of Asian hate, which is really, hard to just imagine, that. It's really disturbing. But what I think really is interesting about this is that, this could have been kind of a preachy book and preachy stories, but I think the creative teams actually took a really intriguing approach to it, because it really just, a lot of it's about, there is definitely, messages behind all the stories, but I think they do it in a very entertaining way, which is actually pretty difficult. And I really applaud all the teams, because this is one of those rare, kind of, special, 100-page books that actually every single story is just really well done, and the artwork is absolutely fantastic on every single one. There is not any of them that are disappointing. Honestly, they're really, really wonderful. Obviously, I think the Monkey King by Jean Luen and Bernard Chang is probably my favorite, partially because he's a new hero, so that was kind of exciting. And it also has Shazam in it, and I love Shazam, who is really Captain Marvel. So that was actually I think it was a good way to end the story or the book. And there's some really great pinups too. This is, I think what's sad is that a book like this actually has to come out. But on the plus side, I think it really empowers not only the Asian community, but outside that community to look in. And I think the voices, the creators really do a great job of pointing out things, about their heritage and stuff like that. And I think the other interesting thing is in the back, all the characters, all the DC Asian characters are mentioned. The ones that are in the book, and there's some that are not, but they point out where they're from, which is really nice. I think it's it's a really, not only is it a great comic, I think it's a really important comic in some ways. Like I said, there are some that are preachy, but I never felt, like I was being talked down to, or like, it was really good on so many different levels. One, it's really entertaining. There's 11 stories. Usually I always say I base it, $1 a story. In this case, it's well worth the $10. It's one of the rare ones where every single one was so worth it. This book I really highly recommend for a number of different reasons, but honestly, the main reason is just for the comics themselves, are really good. They're really entertaining stories, and that's really the most important part. Next up, we have Time Before Time, #1, written by Declan Shelvey and Rory McConville, with artwork by Joe Palmer. Ryan at the comic shop kind of mentioned that this is a little bit like Looper, and I think that's a fair, like, okay, it's kind of like this. That gives you an idea. What it is Tetsuo and Oscar are basically time traveling pilots that take people from this really crappy future. They'll take them back in time. So like the book starts out in 1987, where Tetsuo is taking back a mother and her son back to 1987 because it's a better time period. And the kid asks, what's the Wi-Fi password? And Tetsuo is like, Wi-Fi is not going to be around for like 10 years. So, and the kid starts freaking out. But it kind of gives you a good setup. And so what it is Tetsuo and Oscar get the idea that they're going to steal one of the time travel pods, and they're going to go back to a better time because, the future sucks. And so what happens is they, Oscar ends up stealing a pod and ends up actually accidentally going into the future, getting captured, and he finally gets back, but he's like old and totally messed up, because he's been gone for years. But for Tetsuo, it hasn't been that long. And then at the end of this issue, there is Tetsuo, is going to go try to fix things basically. And there is a girl that kind of ends up with him, and I don't want to spoil it. It has a great lead up to the next issue. Shelby's obviously known for being an artist, but he's actually really come to his own as a writer too. He wrote there was the original graphic novel Bog that came out earlier this year that was really good. And I, him and McConville do a really nice job on script. It's really well thought out. It doesn't use time travel as a crutch per se. I mean, that's its basic thing, but it doesn't, they do spend a good amount of time developing the characters, which is very important. I really liked Palmer's artwork on this book. Yeah, I think he was a really good choice. Has a really nice gritty style and feel to it. So this was actually a surprisingly good book, and I think you should check it out. It's definitely worth picking up this week. Next up, we have Justice League Glass Ride, written by Chip Zdarsky, with artwork by Miguel Mendocia. This is a standalone story. It's not in continuity. I'd almost say, it's not entirely out of continuity because they do point out what's going on with Green Lantern in currently, but in a lot of ways it's kind of somewhat set outside. It does stand on its own. I don't think you need everything you need to know about like what's going on with Green Lantern. Zdarsky explains and everything, and basically the Justice League is kind of broken up, and so what it is, the Green Lanterns who are trying to get the core back together, brings Lobo to the Justice League, or to Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, basically, to kind of show that Earth can, be a part of the galactic universe, And so, Superman's kind of tired of just like doing everything, and, he's pissed off at Batman because, Batman comes in and like takes charge, and Wonder Woman's just kind of caught in the middle. So that's kind of what this first issue is. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that it blew my mind, but I think it's a good, it's a good start. Zdarsky script does a nice job. It sets everything up really well. And it doesn't, it has a good balance of exposition and, moving the story forward. Mendocia's artwork is actually really nice. It has a nice feel to it, has a good look. And I think it's kind of worth checking out. I wasn't overwhelmed, but I did enjoy it. Next up, we have Silver Coin #2, written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Michael Walsh. Now, as I said with the first issue, this is an anthology. So the difference is usually it's the same writer with a different artist. And in this case, it's flipped because Michael Walsh is drawing. He's the artist on every issue, but they're actually changing writers. And so the basic premise is this coin is the thread throughout these stories. If you get the coin, basically bad things is going to happen. What Thompson did in this is it's basically an ode to Friday the 13th and horny dead teenager camp movies at camp. And that's exactly what this is. It doesn't try to, she doesn't try to like make it any different. It's exactly that. And on that level, it was really, really good. I really liked it. And once again, Walsh is doing a really nice job on the artwork. I really like it. And, and I think the interesting thing is, even though he has a style, it is a little bit different than the last issue. He's definitely like, pivoting and making it feel a little bit different, even though it's saying, it's still his artwork, but it has like a little bit of a different touch. And I really enjoyed that. So I'm really enjoying this. Once again, you don't have to read the first issue. If you missed the first issue, great. You're fine, because this issue is a complete standalone. The next issue is going to be a complete standalone. So that's what this is. Next up, we have Future State Gotham #1. Written by Joshua Williamson and Dennis Culver, with artwork by Giannis. This one's going to be tough. Mongolinas. Honestly, I thought I wasn't overtly overwhelmed by most of Future State, but I wasn't particularly a whole big fan of the whole, Gotham being a police state and everything. But I will say, I kind of like this. The best way to kind of describe this is Batman meets Akira. There's no gray area about that. Partially because of the artwork, which is actually black and white. I can't actually think of the last time, either DC or Marvel, when a book was just a regular book, not a Batman black and white or Superman red and blue. This is black and white, and actually I think it really helps. So what it is the Red Hood is kind of undercover, trying to infiltrate the people that are basically running Gotham at this point. So there's obviously the yin and yang. Is he gonna fall in rank with them, or is he actually trying to help? I mean, that's kind of where this first story is. I actually thought it was, there was a lot of action in this first issue, and I think that is a nice setup. I'll definitely give Williamson and Culver, the first issue gets off to a good start. It sets things up. I don't think you really have needed to read any of the other Future State. They give you kind of a Cliff Note version of like what's going on. But Margolina's artwork is really the big win here. It is just absolutely gorgeous, and I think it's much more striking in black and white. I think the black and white's a huge win for this book. Obviously there's huge manga influence, I think, in both the story and the art, but I think it actually fits really well with this particular story. I was really surprised, considering how, I was kind of disappointed with a lot of the Future State books. So, this one's kind of coming late to the party, but I actually enjoyed it. So I think it's well worth checking out. Next up, we have Geiger #2, written by Jeff Johns and artwork by Gary Frank. I like the first issue. I will say the second issue did what I had hoped it would do, where it kind of most of the story now the second issue takes place in kind of like the post-nuclear fallout Las Vegas, that is basically basically run by the mob. That's the best way to kind of describe it. And so obviously it kind of sets, we learned the backstory of Geiger in the first issue, how, he's kind of like this radioactive superhero in some respects. So now we learn kind of like not only, kind of like what the rich people or the people running Las Vegas, but the people that are kind of stuck in Vegas, like the waitresses, the cocktail, the dealers and all that kind of stuff, how they're just trying to survive. So I think it's interesting. And I think Johns did a good job of building up the story from the second issue. And kind of bringing the two worlds together, like like the outside Mad Max world, and then kind of the oppressed, rich people world. And that's what this issue does. And I think it built well in the story, and I think there's enough here that I'm intrigued with the where they go with the third issue. Of course, Gary Frank's artwork is just absolutely gorgeous. It's always a big win. It's a really good looking book, but I think he does a really good job of complementing Jeff Johns' story. So it's worth checking out. I wouldn't say that I was overwhelmed, but I am enjoying it. Next up, we have Batman the Detective #2, written by Tom Taylor and with artwork by Andy Kubert and Sandra Hope. Once again, we go back to the world's boringest title, Batman the Detective. We didn't know he was a detective because there's like Detective Comics. The first issue was really good. I really enjoyed it. Tom Taylor is just becoming really quite the impressive DC writer right now. It's Batman in Europe, and he meets up with an old friend slash foe, in a way, so there's that going on, and he kind of dives deeper into the mystery of who's killing the people that Batman has saved. That's the basic premise of the story, and so we kind of start learning more about it. It's unfolding. Taylor does a really good job of developing the story, and yet having some nice action in there to kind of help pace it and everything. Kubert is always just a really great artist, and he's always a big win for a book, and he's really just doing a really wonderful job on it. It's a great looking book, and it has a really good story. At some point I'd say I'm almost Batmaned out, but then every once in a while, you get a book like this, it kind of stands alone. I enjoy that. I'm enjoying this, so I think we'll keep going on this one. Next up, we have Black Hammer Visions #4, written by Mariko Tamaki with artwork by Diego Ortugi. Once again, this is like Silver Coin. These are all standalone issues, but they're done by different creators who have not done any Black Hammer books. And what this is, it's the main Black Hammer team that is doing they're actually in a soap opera, and then it switches. Then you see that in the beginning, there's the whole like soap opera aspect of all the main characters, and then it goes into outer space where the same cast is now watching themselves in a way, and so there's kind of two stories. There's the soap opera story, and then there's kind of like the real story. And and Tamaki actually does a really nice job of like just using these characters. They're not the Black Hammer characters, but they are at the same time. They just don't know. I like the dichotomy of having the soap opera and them themselves watching the soap opera. That was really neat. Ortugi's artwork is really nice here. I looked it up. He's done a lot of Marvel work, so I'm not really familiar, but I did like his artwork. And this is it's a fun story. It kind of has a nice nod wink to Hollywood and stuff. I'm really enjoying it. And I like it's just different voices doing these characters, and they get to do whatever they want, and that's what's making this book really exciting. Next up, we have Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries #2. Written by Sholly Fish, with artwork by Randy Elliott. Once again, another wonderful all ages. Fish wrote the Scooby-Doo team ups, which were absolutely just a real joy. And the first issue I thought was kind of dense for kind of an all ages book. It was good, but the second issue, it's not because of Joker, but it just kind of it's a simple mystery with both Batman and the Scooby Gang, and it's really, once again, it's charming. Fish definitely knows how to write Scooby-Doo, which is really, I think, the more important part, because writing Batman, I think, is somewhat easy, because he just has to be Batman. And Elliot does a really nice job of, capturing that animation style of both Batman and the Scooby Gang. It's a fun book. It's going to be 12 issues. I enjoy it immensely. I think it's great for, all ages. And look, it's Batman Scooby-Doo. How could you go wrong? And you can't. Next up, we have Scout's Honor number 5, written by David Pepos, with artwork by Lucia Casalaguda. This is the last issue of the story. Kit has come back to basically tell the Scouts that everything that their whole purpose has been built on a lie. So this is the finale. And I will say, I did enjoy it, but it was a little basic. But on the other hand, I like the fact that, it had a happy ending. But, I think the thing was the ending is good. It's a very standard ending, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it was wise that Pepos didn't kind of go off and, go like crazy and do something wild and weird at the end. It's a pretty straightforward ending, and it is, I think, overall delivers a good story for the overall book. I did really enjoy this book. I thought it had a lot of great twists and turns and everything. And, like I said, sometimes a happy ending is actually a good thing. And I think it does end, but there could be more stories. That's also another nice thing. Like I said, I really enjoyed this. Pepos is really a good writer. He's written quite a few books, but this is actually one of my favorites so far. And Casalaguda's artwork has been really, really wonderful in the book, and there's a lot of action in this final issue, and he really just knocks out of the park. There's, it's a very big ending in a lot of ways, and he really just nails it. Overall, I really enjoyed this, and I'd say if you missed it at this point, there will be a trade probably in a month or two. So I think it's worth checking out. I really enjoyed it. It was a nice take on the post-apocalyptic future that we've really seen a lot of lately. Next up, we have The Joker number 3, written by James Tynion IV, with artwork by Guillaume Marsh. And then there's a Punchline backup written by Sam Jones and Tynion, with artwork by Mirka and Dalfo. Once again, as I point out, even though Joker's in the title, this is a Commissioner Gordon story that is really guest starring Joker. And I think that has really been the charm, because after the Joker Wars, Joker has always been overused. He's a great villain. There's no doubt about that. But he's oftentimes used way too much, to where I think the thing is that what I like about this is that it is a Commissioner Gordon story. He's basically been hired to find the Joker and kill him. Obviously, this story very much leans into the Killing Joke story. There's lots of flashbacks to it. And, I'm really enjoying the main story. I think it's really good because it is a commissioner, let's be honest, Joker's going to sell a commission. If you put Commissioner Gordon on the front, it's going to not sell. So I think, I think from a marketing point of view, it's a great idea, but you really have to, say that it's a Commissioner Gordon story. Tynion's writing a really good story. I'm really enjoying it. Marsh's artwork is always a big win. He's just a really amazing artist. And I think the thing is, especially in this issue, there's not a lot of action, and it really shows how he is able to capture the emotions of the characters, and their facial expressions. It's really, really surprisingly been good. The Punchline backup, I never thought she was that great of a character. She's okay, but she's really not anything special. The story's just, it's okay. It was okay. For me, Andolfo's artwork is really what I'm enjoying, but the backup story is just kind of okay. It's not bad, just okay. So, thankfully the main story's really good. Next up, we have Proctor Valley Road number 3, written by Alex Child and Grant Morrison, with artwork by Naomi Franquez. So basically, this is based on a urban legend in San Diego about Proctor Valley Road and the people disappeared. And so what it is the girls, initially they've taken the guys out. The guys basically get captured by this spirit and monsters and stuff. So what we're still seeing in the story is the girls are, they're everybody, is freaking out in the town because the boys are missing. The girls know what happened. Nobody believes them. So they're trying to find out what's going on with this, like, ghost and this urban legend. And so this issue, they go back out and they try to find him, and then they find like this, well, they steal a cop car, and there's this like demon thing, and they run it over with the car, and it's just kind of chaos. This was really a good issue. I'm really enjoying the series. Because I think it's the concept. It's based on an urban legend. I mean, we all love urban legends, and I think this is actually really charming, but it's a lot of fun at the same time. And I think Child and Morrison just really, they've developed the characters, which is I think really important. Like it's not necessarily about the monsters and the ghosts and all that kind of stuff, and I think it's important that they've really fleshed out the girl characters really well. Franquez's art, it has a bit of a cartoony style, but I think it actually benefits in some way, especially like with the expressions on the girls' faces are just sometimes priceless, and it's really a fun little book. And it's kind of, I think it's, I don't want to say it's all ages, it's not, but I think it's definitely, it works well as like maybe a young adult type story. So in that respect, I'm really enjoying it. We're third issue. We'll see how it keeps going. Next up, we have Wonder Woman 772, with the main story written by Michael W. Conrad and Becky Cloonan, with artwork by Travis Moore. Then there's the Young Diana backup story written by Jordi Belair, with artwork by Paulina Genshu. I'm really enjoying this main story, with Diana trapped in Valhalla. There's Thor and Odin. And in this issue, we kind of, it just continues, like, she's trying to figure out what's going on. We find out who might be behind it. We do see one of the villains. I don't want to say who, because it's a nice little surprise, but really one of the bigger surprises is actually Deadman appears, and really I think bringing him into that gives it a really neat twist. And they've really done a good job of like keeping the mystery but moving the story forward. Conrad and Cloonan, I'm really enjoying this story. They're really knocking it out of the park. Moore's artwork is just absolutely fabulous. It's really, really good. It's wonderful. It's just really good looking book. The problem I kind of have is I like the Young Diana story. Belair is doing a nice job, and Ganshu artwork's really nice. I just don't think it fits with the story. I think the other problem is because DC's trying to give you more bang for your buck, and that's fine for some of the books. But I really think if you're gonna have a backup story, it really needs to complement or at least be in line with the main story. And I think that's the problem with the Young Diana story, which is really good, but it just doesn't fit with the main story. So then it's raising the cover price to $4.99 over $3.99, and I think that is why sales are kind of hurting on this, because people are looking at like $5. The main story is really good and the backup is good. It just doesn't fit. I'm still enjoying the main story, and I think it's worth the price of admission on that one. And Travis Moore's artwork is just absolutely fantastic. Next up, we have Karmen #3, written and drawn by Guillaume Marsh. Obviously, we all picked this up because of his artwork, but and the first issue was really good. I think the second issue kind of dragged a little bit. In the fact that it was really pretty, and once again, the artwork is really fantastic, but I don't think there was a lot of story. And I think this issue really made up for that second one, because we find out that Karmen is basically kind of like an angel. That's the best way to describe it. And we also see, I think what's really interesting is we see another person die in this issue, and we kind of get a different perspective about what's going on and what these quote unquote angels are actually doing. And obviously Karmen is not quite following the rules, but we don't quite know why she is not. And I think story wise, this issue really improved on the second issue. Like I said, I don't think the second issue was bad, but it kind of treaded water a little bit. What more can I say about his artwork? His artwork is freaking stunning. And, that is worth the price of admission alone. But I will say I'm very glad that this third issue story really kind of stepped up to the plate. I'm still really enjoying the book. At the very least, his artwork's great, but I will say the story is definitely improved. Next up, we have Space Bastards number 5, written by Eric Parsons and Joe Aubrey, with artwork by Derek Robertson. This is just one of those books. Every issue is even more crazy than the last one. So apparently the postal workers get 1 day a year that they all are off, and there's no deliveries, and they basically go bananas, like, having sex, taking drugs, just, gorging themselves. And so there's that going on. And then in the hotel, you find out that there is a revenge plot against some of the characters, and that they're going to blow the whole place up, and they're trying to stop the bombs, and yet everybody's like just drugged out of their mind. It's just insanity. It's absolute insanity. And it just Parsons and Aubrey just keep the story going. It's still a lot of fun. It's still crazy. Of course, the big win is Derek Robertson's artwork, which is absolutely wonderful. And just how he's able to capture all this insanity visually is just impressive. I mean, it's just really impressive. I mean, this is the guy who drew The Boys, so there's a reason that they definitely picked him for this. But it's a fun book. I'm having a good time. It's I wouldn't say that it's brilliant or anything, but it's enjoyable, and sometimes that's more than enough to do it. And finally, we have Rorschach number 8, written by Tom King and with artwork by George Fornes. So this issue is really one of my favorite issues, and I not only really adds a lot to the story, but the way that it's done. So what it is the detective's interviewing 3 separate people, but yet the story a lot of times. So there's the top will be Samuel, who is a lawyer. Then we have Jamie, the psychiatrist, in the middle, and then we have Daniel as a worker at the bottom. So the story kind of moves along that. So the way that they break it up, not only with the art, because Fornes does the art, but with Stewart's coloring, each one's colored slightly different. So you read the book like you normally would, but you can see the story is connected at that point, but you have 3 different stories going on at the same time. So you have Will, who's Rorschach, and then Laura, the girl. They're at this farm, and so what it is, the detective's trying to find out, what happened at this farm, what led them to the attempted assassination. And what's interesting is that they all kind of tell the same story. So the detective, the ultimate question, and it's not really answered, and that's what King does so well, is he presents this. So the question is, are they telling the same story because they've been told to tell the same story, or are they telling the truth? And that is quite interesting because you don't quite know where, which one it is. And I think that's really intriguing. And this issue was, this series has been really great, but this issue is absolutely fantastic. And not only is the story really good, but Fornes and along with Stewart, who's doing the color work on this, really art-wise, this issue was absolutely fantastic, because when you're telling a story like in, the same story, but 3 different, versions, that's really visually, you've got to nail it, and Fornes really brings it. And I, once again, I have to really give it to Stuart, because color wise, he really helps. He brings it all together with Fornes's line art, and this has been a really wonderful book. I'm really loving it, and it's really, it's nothing I expected. In a lot of ways, I expect it because Tom King's such a damn good writer, but I didn't expect it with Rorschach. So that's really interesting. That's going to do it. I think we did a pretty good job. We had a really good time. Like I said, I think the really big books this week are the Festival of Heroes, the Asian Superheroes Celebration. I cannot recommend that book enough. Time Before Time was really good. Silver Coin was really good. Future State Gotham was a big surprise. I think that was really good. I love Black Hammer. That's always a win. Batman Scooby-Doo is just, you can't go wrong with Scooby-Doo and Batman. Once again, I'll really point out Wonder Woman. I think it's really underrated right now. I think you should be checking that out. As always, support your local comic shop. I get my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics Long Beach. Ryan runs a great store. Annie is great there. A lot of great customers too. A lot of times, especially on New Comic Day, everybody's there, kind of talking about comics. It's great. They have a great Facebook page, a group page where everybody posts stuff, and there's a lot of fun going on over there. Also check out their videos. They do unboxing every Tuesday night for the new stuff. They also have there's a sister store in Culver City, Pulp Fiction Culver City, run by Chris and her team. It's a really great store. So if you live in more in the LA area, check that out. But if you're in the South Bay, Long Beach area, I can't recommend Ryan's store enough. Once again, if you can get vaccinated, please get vaccinated. I've been fully vaccinated. Hopefully we can all get fully vaccinated and get through this. Continue to make sure you wear your mask. I still, even being fully vaccinated, I still wear my mask out quite a bit. It's just a safety thing. I'd rather be safe than sorry. And especially, with the DC, the Asian Superhero Celebration, please be kind. We need a lot of kindness. We need a lot of, just be kind, share, love each other, just be kind out there. Kindness goes a long way, and we need a lot of kindness right now. That's going to wrap it up for this week. Thanks for watching. As always, you can check out the website, popculturemaven.com. Our YouTube channel has lots of videos and stuff. And, we'll try to get some more different content up. It's just been really busy lately. But anyways, take care, be safe, be kind. This is Steven from popculturemaven.com, and we'll be back next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.